What's happening? Happy Tuesday to you and yours. Thanks for joining me as always. It is very much appreciated. Let's start with our major takeaways. Major takeaways about free agency and the Patriots after about 1 week of action. Some may say not enough action, but I wanted to take a look at this free agency class and look at what the Patriots did through the first 7 or 8 days and give you a 30,000 view look at the major takeaways, things that we could learn from what the Patriots have done up until this point. And let's start with the most important part of the entire equation here, the quarterback. The fact that the Patriots signed Jacoby Brissett tells you they are going to draft a quarterback. And even more so, the fact that they signed Brissett to a 1-year deal tells me that the Patriots feel they will land a quarterback that has at least a chance to start for this team for the next several years. To me, the term of Jacoby Brissett's contract was the most important part of this entire offseason to this point. The fact that you gave Brissett a 1-year deal gave you no security. It gave you no long-term solution at quarterback, long-term even as far as 2 or 3 years. To give Brissett a 1-year deal, you are guaranteeing that you're going to draft a quarterback. Now, the biggest question is, will that quarterback be at 3? Will that quarterback be at 34? Will the quarterback be picked later on in the draft? Will the Patriots mess around and draft somebody like Spencer Rattler and say, we'll roll in with Brissett and Rattler, and the man who wins the competition is the man who has the job? But this idea of Brissett on a 1-year deal tells us the Patriots will be drafting a quarterback in April. We just don't know where. We just don't know when. 3, 34. The other option, of course, is that they could trade back in, which I don't think is outrageous. If you move down to the late first round, if you happen to like Michael Penix or love Michael Penix, you can easily move into the later part of the first round and draft that guy if that's what you want to do. But when you look at Jacoby Brissett in the 1-year nature of his contract, we all should be prepared for the Patriots to draft a quarterback in April and not only take a flyer on a quarterback, quote unquote, but draft a guy that they believe can be the answer at that position, because they have no answer in 2025. And I don't think they would have set themselves up with that kind of situation unless they are very, very confident they will find the guy, draft the guy, bring him in. And whether it's Jacoby starting for the first 6 weeks, 10 weeks, starting for the entire season, maybe it's just Brissett to guide the young rookie. You draft him. You plan on starting the rookie week 1. Brissett knows this. He's been told the plan, and he's ready for it with that 1-year deal. Maybe that's going to be the case. But that was the biggest part of this offseason, and it happened very early. The fact that you signed Brissett to a 1-year deal tells us you're all in on this draft finding a quarterback, and you believe you can draft a quarterback that can be that guy. The second thing, the second major takeaway for me has to do with the wide receiver market. A lot of people talking about wide receiver. A lot of people talking about Calvin Ridley. A lot of people wondering if the Patriots should have paid Ridley more money than they were willing to pay him. Here's what we know. We are now on day 8 of free agency. And the Patriots have added KJ Osborne, who we talked about yesterday. They put a lot of money on the table for Ridley. And what we can gather is the Patriots, they looked at that free agency class and they said to themselves, the only guy we are willing to overextend for is Calvin Ridley. We're not going to overextend on a trade for Keenan Allen. We're not going to overextend on money and throw the bank at Hollywood Brown or Curtis Samuel or any of these other guys. For the Patriots, this was about finding a top-tier receiver. It was about finding a number 1 guy. And the only guy the Patriots thought in the free agency market filled that void was Ridley. And that's why they went hard after him. And that's why they put more than $40 million of guaranteed money on the table. And as soon as Ridley said thanks, but no thanks, the Patriots, for all intents and purposes, were out of the free agency market for that position. They found a nice depth piece, a solid number 3 guy. We talked about Osborne yesterday. I like the move. But that was the only guy. Ridley was the only guy the Patriots were ready to back the Brinks up truck for, which makes sense because you look at the rest of the receiver position. I would have not dumped 15 to 20 million on Hollywood Brown. I'm not dumping 15 million per year on Curtis Samuel to beat out the Buffalo Bills offer. I'm not going to do that. Even somebody like Josh Reynolds, what is your limit? If the Patriots were going to spend big money at receiver in free agency, it was Ridley or bust. And as soon as Ridley was off the table, their money was off the table. They didn't look at this class and say to themselves, it's deep. They said this is a weak wide receiver class for a true number 1 guy. We don't even think there's a number 2 guy. The Osborne money tells you they believe he's a 3/4, which he is. It's a weak class. And the Patriots are looking at speed, which is another element. Look, I would have traded for Keenan Allen, but it's rather obvious that Elliott Wolf, the rest of this front office, Gerard Mayo, they are looking for speed at wide receiver. They signed Osborne, who ran a 4.4 840 at the combine. So they want speed, and they also don't want anybody at that position that's 31, 32, 33 years old. They're looking for youth. You have Osborne, who's about 27 years old, to go along with Bourne, who's younger than 30. Pop, obviously, is a young guy. Tyquan Thornton is a young guy. Juju is not their guy. So they were very specific as far as what they were looking for in a wide receiver. They didn't see it in anybody else other than Calvin Ridley to walk up and drop the bag on the table. And I can't sit here and tell you that I disagree with that. I'm fine with signing KJ Osborne. I wanted Calvin Ridley, but not at that number. The bigger question now as we move forward is, are you going to trade for a receiver like Brandon Ayuk? There's a rumor out there that Jacksonville was talking to San Francisco. Are you going to try to trade for somebody like Ayuk? Are you going to trade for somebody like T. Higgins? Is that what you're looking at? Or are you totally devoted now to the draft and finding 1 or 2 guys to answer the questions about that position? Now, there's a question about the draft to me, because when you look at the draft and the wide receivers in the draft, and if you're trying to figure out who could be there at the top of the second round, there are not going to be a ton of great options who can play the X position, which is what the Patriots need. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see what happens, but it's rather obvious the Patriots were not going to overextend themselves at wide receiver and free agency other than Calvin Ridley. And as soon as Ridley was off the market, they were pretty much, I'm all set. We'll go find somebody who can give us insurance for Juju, give us insurance for Kendrick Bourne. But beyond that, we're not going to go crazy. We're not moving heaven and earth for any of these wide receiver free agents. All right, before we continue, got a $10 super chat to the New England Patriot Kid. Thank you. I appreciate the super chat. That's how you jump to the front of the line with your question and your comment. And don't forget, $10 super chat. That's good for 2 months of the Patreon channel, exclusive content. Check it out, patreon.com/Nick Cattles, Cattles, exclusive content for you. Details at that website, $5 a month, $1.25 a week. Unpopular opinion, but I don't want the Patriots to trade for T. Higgins. I'd rather they use the first 3 picks on quarterback, tackle, and wide receiver in that order, and then go get a wide receiver 1 next offseason. So I kind of have an evolving opinion on this. And I was thinking about talking about it maybe a little bit later this week, but we'll get to it right now. Might as well, right? Because the New England Patriot Kid gave us a $10 super chat. I'll hit it right now. My evolving opinion on this is that the Patriots, I would be okay if they traded for a top-tier receiver. I would be okay if they traded for T. Higgins, for example. However, there's a caveat. In our prior conversations, I talked about Higgins costing you multiple picks, 2, 3, 4 draft picks. If you're telling me that you can get T. Higgins, some people have opined this, that you can get T. Higgins for the number 34 pick and maybe like a day 3 pick next year, I make that trade. I would be willing to make that trade because I was willing to pay Calvin Ridley $20 million a year. I'd be willing to pay T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk $23, $24 million a year and give up that second round pick because you are now replacing number 34 with T. Higgins or Ayuk. And I don't think that's a bad idea at all. You know, both those guys can play the X and make plays downfield for you. So my hesitancy to trade for somebody like a Higgins or an Ayuk was how much you would have to give up. But from what I'm reading, you might be able to give up the second round pick for T. Higgins. And if that's the case, if it's just a swap of the second round pick with Higgins, then you're just talking money. And the money would guarantee you the guy who played at a high level in the NFL, and you know what you're going to get from him. And we also have to look at some other needs with this football team. So I understand the New England Patriot kid, but the fact is this. You need right now a quarterback, wide receiver, and tackle. If you only have to give up one pick from this year's draft to acquire a top-tier receiver, I would do it because now you're checking that off the list. And it only cost you one pick this year. Now, if you're telling me to trade for T. Higgins or Ayuk, it's going to cost me a second-round pick and a third-round pick, or a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick, a second-round pick, another pick this year, and another pick next year, that's when I start to feel a little bit queasy. But if you're telling me second-round pick and a fourth next year, yes, I would do it because I'm only sacrificing one pick from this draft, which was my biggest concern. Sacrificing multiple picks in this draft to fill one need. I do not want to do that. When I'm talking about acquiring a veteran. So I would pull that deal off if I could. All right, I appreciate you, New England Patriot kid. Thank you for the super chat. It is very, very much appreciated. While you're watching the show today, don't forget to give us that thumbs up. A very busy day yesterday. Our best week of this podcast's history was last week. It's because all of the comments, all of the likes, especially the likes, the thumbs up, they mean the world to us on Facebook, on Twitter, and especially on YouTube. Give us that like and subscribe when you have a chance to. More than 2,600 subscribers to this podcast, to this channel on YouTube, and it's all because of you building that community, trying to hit 3,000 subscribers by the national championship game on April 8th. It's going to be a very difficult challenge, but we will continue to push for it, and we do that by the likes, the comments, and the subscriptions. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Pods, don't forget to rate and review. Saw a couple of your comments yesterday on the Spotify channel. I appreciate that. Those 5-star ratings also mean the world to this podcast. All right. Third major takeaway from free agency. There is a belief from this team, from this front office, that the defense can help this team be competitive no matter what in 2024. They believe in this defense. They believe in the guys that they had on this defense. And as much as they want to weaponize the offense, and as much as they will spend on the offense, that I believe they will spend on the offense in the draft, they made a statement about this defense. They believe in it wholeheartedly. They don't believe the top 10 ranking in DVOA is something that should be overlooked. They believe in the guys they have on that side of the football. Many of them are now returning. And it makes a lot of sense with Gerard Mayo, DeMarcus Covington, your head coach, your defensive coordinator, Pellegrino coming back, Brian Belichick coming back. It makes a lot of sense that the Patriots would feel that way. But they have utter belief in this defense making this team competitive to the point where they're not overextending themselves for tackle or wide receiver or quarterback in the free agency class. They feel like they can address some of those needs, if not all of those needs, via the draft, because they feel that while those young guys are figuring it out, this defense will help carry this team. So what we've seen is an utter belief on that side of the football. Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo feel like they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And that's why they bring back Anthony Jennings. That's why they bring back Uche. That's why they transition tag Duggar. They feel like the last couple of years, this defense Not a flash in the pan. It is damn good, and that is what's going to make us competitive early in 2024. Because if you're relying on all of those young guys on the offense, if you're going to draft your quarterback, wide receiver, and offensive tackle, if that's what they're going to do, then they have to rely on this defense and the veterans on that side of the ball. And they believe in those guys. And they think this defense is good enough to win and stay competitive, even if they have to go through some of the quote-unquote building process offensively. Cool Genuine Phil jumps in with a $2 super chat. Daniels at 3, AD or Leggett at 34. Weaponize the offense. You know, AD Mitchell is my binky. I love the guy, watching him at Texas. I watched a number of his games this year. He just produces on the field. He makes some contested catches. He can beat you downfield. To me, he's the whole package. He really is. He has pretty much the whole package. In his combine, he blew doors at the combine. And I think that made him a first-round pick. If AD Mitchell drops to 34, I'm going to do cartwheels that night. If you can get your quarterback of the future at 3 and you can stick and pick at 34 and you end up with AD Mitchell, Patriots fans should be very happy with that, because I believe Mitchell has the potential to be a true bona fide number 1 receiver at the NFL level. Leggett, I don't like him as much as Mitchell. And Daniels at 3, we'll see who falls to 3. Patriots don't have much of an option there, right? All right, before we move forward, again, I told you about the Patreon, $5 a month. Appreciate everybody who signed up. We're going to do our chat tonight on the Discord. Hopefully that goes well. Tomorrow we have the ad-free podcast that drops, video on demand. I have more details on what we're going to talk about regarding that podcast tomorrow night on the Patreon page. And, of course, Friday we got the mailbag. So very active over at the Patreon. I also want to let all of you know, if you're watching right now, be excited for tomorrow's show, because tomorrow we have a guest. That's right. We have a guest. We have invited a guest to the Nick Cattle Show. That guest has said yes, and that guest is Evan Lazar. Evan will join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll talk free agency. I'm sure we'll jump into a little bit of the draft. So tomorrow, Evan Lazar will join this show live at 11 a.m. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X. So you want to check that out. Give us a like for Evan Lazar, who I think does fantastic work at Patriots.com. Evan will be with us tomorrow. Fourth major takeaway from free agency. Elliott Wolf believes that this team had more good players on it than other people believe, because they made it a priority to retain players from that 4-win team a year ago. And it goes into the idea of you can be a 4-win team and still have good to very good football players on your roster. You don't burn the entire house down because you only won 4 games last year. And the fact that they retained Michael Wenu on that big deal. They retained Bourne and Henry and Jennings and Uche and Duggar. Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo, they both talked about this during the Combine week. We want to keep the core of good players, guys that we consider the core on this football team. We want to keep them. Now, maybe Uche, you can say, is not necessarily a core guy because he only got a 1-year deal. But no doubt, with the contracts handed out to Owenu and Bourne and Henry and Jennings, and the fact that they wanted to transition tag Duggar, even though the safety market is depressed and we still have guys out there like Justin Simmons, the fact that they put the transition tag on Duggar tells you they believe he's a part of this core. So that's my fourth major takeaway. Keep the good players, continue to build this core. And my final takeaway, and this might be the most important takeaway, frankly, aside from just the quarterback take. Do you notice what's going on? Who the Patriots are signing in free agency? Do you notice a trend? The trend is the Patriots are not spending money on guys who are 30 years old or older currently. They might turn 30 late this year. They might turn 30 in early 2025. But the Patriots are not spending money on guys who are 30 years old or older. Jacoby Brissett is the only free agent that they have brought into this football team that is older than 30. He's the only guy. Elliott Wolf and Mayo are focused on the 26 years old to 28 years old window. And I think that's smart. A lot of people would tell you that the prime athlete is usually mid-20s to about 28, 29, especially in the NFL. Baseball, you're looking at, 27, 28 to about 32, 33, I think. Basketball, who knows nowadays with LeBron at like 40 doing what he's doing. But when you're talking football, that 24 to 28 year range makes a lot of sense. If you can get a guy, sign him when he's in that age range, you have a better chance of having that guy be productive. And the Patriots are not spending a bunch of money on guys who are 31, 32, 33 years old. And I think that's part of the Keenan Allen thing. Look, would I have made the deal for Keenan Allen? Yes, I would have. But it's rather obvious by what the Patriots have done in this offseason. They're trying to stay away from the 30 and older club. They want to focus on the younger talent. They want to focus on the younger guys, 26, 27, 28 years old. Now, of course, there's exceptions to those rules, and we might see the Patriots land a veteran tackle like a Charles Leno, who's the guy that I want. I've been saying that for the last few days, tweeted it over the weekend at Nick C Radio if you want to follow me. Charles Leno, I think, would be a very good bridge left tackle. So you might have to stray away from the 30 and older plan to sign that veteran left tackle, but that's what they're focused on. They're not going to go out there and overextend for guys who are, 30, 31, 32, 33 years old. Even Calvin Ridley, yes, he's 29, but we talked about it. He missed almost 2 years of football, so his legs are much younger than 29. He turns 30 in December. So that's also another takeaway. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. All the likes in the world help us out, right? If you've liked before, like again. Give us that thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Let's punch that algorithm in the face. Let's build this brand, build this community. A lot of momentum with this show being the alternative to Boston Sports Talk. I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm proud of what we're accomplishing. And it's all because of you. So don't forget to give us that like, that thumbs up. And don't forget to rate and review on Spotify and Apple Pods. Okay. What grade would you give the Patriots so far? We're 8 days in. How would you grade this free agency period? How would you grade this offseason so far? What do you think of the last 8 days? And I ask you this because Pro Football Focus, and I know some other people have talked about this the last day or so. Pro Football Focus gave the Patriots a B+. A B+ for the Patriots in free agency. Do you agree with the B+? I do not agree with the B+. I would give the Patriots a solid C. Now, you could talk me into a C+, but I'm going to roll with the C. I'm going to give them a solid C because, look, the obvious right now, and again, we're not talking about what could happen 2 weeks from now, 2 days from now, 2 hours from now. If the Patriots go out there and they sign Charles Leno to be their left tackle, and then they end up, signing Stephon Gilmore, which was part of my plan, or Justin Simmons to help the secondary, now all of a sudden that grade bumps up. But I would give them a solid C because I can't give them anything in the B range. Not yet, because they haven't addressed left tackle and they haven't addressed wide receiver 1. And those were the two needs, right? I didn't expect them to sign a franchise quarterback. I did not think they were going to be in on Cousins or Mayfield. But the fact that you have not been able to address tackle, you have not been able to address wide receiver 1 yet, I can't give you more than, a C+. So, again, you could talk me into a C+. I have them right now as a C, a solid grade. What do you think? I'm seeing some of these grades pop up. Val jumps in with an A-. Cool Genuine Phil says a C+, so he's just above where I'm at. Ramsey says B+, so Ramsey not hating on what the Patriots are doing. Bleep Happens says C-, so a little bit below where I am at. Mike Larry agrees with me and gives them a solid C, as does Ryan James, who jumps in with his C grade. What would you give the Patriots as a grade? So the bad of free agency 8 days in, it's obvious. You haven't addressed left tackle. You haven't addressed wide receiver 1. You also did not sign any outside big ticket items. And I just wanted one. I had said before free agency kicked off that I expected the Patriots to sign one or two big ticket items, and at least one of them being from the outside. So I'm frustrated with their inability to sign one of the bigger name free agents, even if it was on the defensive side of the football. Now, if you go out and get Justin Simmons, again, the grade will go up. If you go out and you find somebody that really could be considered a significant piece, then the grade goes up. But right now, from outside of the team, you haven't brought in a big ticket item. You have not addressed left tackle. You have not addressed wide receiver one. I'm giving you a C. But there is good. And I'm not one of those people that will just sit here and rag and tell you that there's, no good thing that's come out of this free agency, because that would be outrageous. So let's give you the good. Okay. I gave you a C. Let's give you the good. First and foremost, you re-sign Mike Onwenu. And to me, that was a top priority. And we covered this yesterday. According to Ian Rappaport, Onwenu's going to play right tackle. Totally justifies that contract at $19 million per. I love Onwenu coming back. He's your best offensive lineman. So that was a very, very good thing. Very good thing number two, you upgraded your quarterback room. And I know people will look at this and they'll say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Jacoby Brissett? Yeah. The way that your quarterback room played last year, Jacoby Brissett is an upgrade on what you got last season. I'm not trying to predict what's going to happen this year or what would happen if Max stayed here. I'm not getting into that. He's gone. He's a Jaguar. I'm just going off of performance last year and what you could expect from Brissett. Brissett's an upgrade. He's an upgrade. You also solidified tight end. You brought back the second-rated tight end in the free agency market with Hunter Henry. I know people were a little bit down on that or not excited about that because he happened to be a Patriot the last few years. Oh, well, he was the second-best tight end on the market, and you got him signed, sealed, and delivered. You also brought in Austin Hooper, who has history with Alex Van Pelt, who is a legitimate NFL tight end, who can make plays in the pass game. So you solidified the tight end spot. That's another good thing. Another good thing is that you upgraded at swing tackle. Chuck Okorafor is an upgrade over Calvin Anderson and Riley Reif. So you upgraded that position on the roster. You also needed to address edge, and you did. You didn't go out and get a big edge like Danielle Hunter, but you kept Anthony Jennings, who I think is going to play on first and second down, and you brought back Josh Uche, who can thrive in that third down pass rush role. And you have Keon White to develop. So the fact that you got Jennings and Uche back, I think, is a good thing because it solidifies the opposite edge of Matthew Judon. You might not have that star quality, but you have legitimate NFL players on that side. You're also very likely to keep Kyle Duggar, which I think is a good thing as long as you deploy him at the second level. You get him closer to the box. So I like that. I like Antonio Gibson. That's the third down back that we've wanted since James White left here. Gibson can do it all. We broke that down when he signed going back a week or so ago. But he can catch the football. He can make plays after the catch. He can also give you some big plays in the zone run game. He talked about that yesterday with the media. He's good in pass protection. Excellent route runner for a running back. So I like the third down back being added to this offense finally. And here's something that people might think is a little bit controversial, but I couldn't care less. You upgraded the wide receiver room. You did. Now, you didn't get the number one guy yet. You lost out on Calvin Ridley, but you bring in KJ Osborne. And to me, Osborne is better than any receiver that you had outside of, Kendrick Bourne when he was healthy and Pop Douglas for a stretch for about 3-4 weeks. Osborne is better than Parker. Osborne is better than the Juju we saw last year. So, yes, you upgraded your wide receiver room. A lot of this has to do with how bad you were a year ago. People say, KJ Osborne, really? Yeah. Did you want to rely on Devontae Parker? Are you not more comfortable relying on Osborne than Parker? Are you not more comfortable with the idea of Osborne than you are Juju right now? Are you not more comfortable with the idea of Osborne than Tyquan Thornton, who has shown nothing? So, yeah, you actually upgraded your wide receiver room. So when you look at this, you upgraded your wide receiver room, You upgraded your quarterback room. You upgraded your tight end room because of the Hooper ad. And you brought in a third down running back who can do some damage catching the football. You could argue you upgraded your running back room as good as Ezekiel Elliott was last year. And I loved what Zeke did. So those to me are like facts of what this offseason so far has brought you. I think you have upgraded at quarterback, at tight end, at receiver. And that might be a very unpopular opinion, but I couldn't care less. It doesn't mean that these guys are great. It doesn't mean that Jacoby Brissett is going to be an all-pro or Osborne's a one receiver in the NFL. It doesn't mean any of that. All I'm doing is looking at what you had last year and what you have this year. And I'll say the slogan again. Patriots, just get better. They got better at quarterback. Brissett is an upgrade to what you saw last year. They got better at tight end. They got better at wide receiver. Rob D says, a C seems low for how you actually feel about the moves. Well, again, I like the moves, but I can't get over that you needed a left tackle, you need a wide receiver one, and you haven't done that. And I can't get over that you had the second most cap space walking into the offseason, and you didn't bring in an outside big ticket that would immediately improve your football team. So if you were to look at this, I would say the moves that they've made, probably about a B or so to me, right? I give them about a B as far as the things that I just mentioned being good. But the left tackle, the wide receiver one, the no outside big ticket, I'd give that about a C minus to a D. So you combine those, I give them a solid C. Again, you could talk me into a C plus. And again, this is just on what's happened. I'm not telling you that the offseason is over. I've said this and I said it yesterday. Elliott Wolf has time. He knows what this team needs. If we get to May 1st and there are no answers at wide receiver and tackle and some of the things we've talked about, then that's going to be a big fat fail for his offseason. But to me, he's got until at least May 1st. And look, deals can always happen later in the summer. We know that. And if they do, then we evolve the opinion. But by May 1st, I want to see the left tackle solved. I want to see wide receiver one solved. And I want to feel good about this team and say, okay, they addressed the needs. They got the future quarterback. But it's going to have to take until May 1st. It's going to have to take that draft. So right now, in the moment, in this vacuum, March 19th, I give them a solid C. That's how I would feel. All right, let's jump into the super chat. I see one here from DJ41. How would you feel if they take the best tackle at 3, trade 34 for a late first, and take Penix? I would rather, if you're telling me you're getting quarterback and tackle out of the first 2 picks, I would rather they draft a guy with a higher ceiling in Drake May or Jaden Daniels at 3 and then get the tackle late first round, early second round. What I mean by that is if it's May/Daniels and Kingsley Sumatia, right? If it's Sumatia and May/Daniels, I'd rather have that than if it was Alt and Penix. Because I just think the quarterbacks, that ceiling is so high. Like Penix to me is a starting NFL quarterback. But he to me also has a lower ceiling than the guys you're going to get at 3. Penix got the injuries. I'm not even talking about the injuries. I'm talking about he has not been consistent throwing the football in the middle of the football field, which is going to be a big part of this AVP offense. He's athletic. He's more athletic than people give him credit for, but he's not at the level of athleticism, not even close to the level of a Jaden Daniels. And he's not the athlete that Drake May is. And he's not the athlete that Caleb Williams is. And he's not the athlete that J.J. McCarthy is. I don't even think he's the athlete that Bo Nix is. So I like guys who can make plays off platform, extend things, and do stuff that other guys just can't. And Drake May and Jaden Daniels, one of those two guys will be there at 3. They do things that other quarterbacks in this class just can't do. They make throws that other guys can't make. Off-platform plays that they bring to the table. A guy like Penix is not going to really give that to you. And we saw Penix, he's not the best under pressure as far as results go. Pressure gives him issues. So I would tend to lean towards higher ceiling quarterback, then get your tackle if that's what you want. If you want quarterback tackle out of the first 2 picks, give me the higher ceiling. Give me the higher ceiling quarterback than a Michael Penix. All right, don't forget, give us that thumbs up. More likes means more eyeballs as we continue to try to build this brand. Everybody, you've been great the last few weeks. The momentum is going just incredibly, incredibly strong. We get ready, get closer to the draft. I want to absolutely blow out that draft weekend with all of you. So let's give that like, the thumbs up. Facebook, Twitter, especially YouTube. Beat the algorithm. Rate and review. Don't forget, Patreon channel if you're interested in exclusive content. $5 a month, $1.25 a week. Patreon.com/NickCattles, CATTLES. Go check out the info if you'd like. Only $1.25 a week. And Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar will be joining us tomorrow at 11 a.m. So if you're a fan of Evan's work like I am, Lazar will be with us tomorrow live at 11. All right. Before we bid you adieu today, I did want to slide some Celtics in. Look, best team in the NBA. We know that. They win again last night. No Tatum, no Horford, no Holiday, limited minutes for Porzingis, and this basketball team is still a very fun watch. Just speaks to the talent that they have. No Hauser either, if you want to throw him into the mix. The overall consistency of this team has been insane. They don't lose back-to-back games often. They continue to win at home at a crazy clip. They've beat good teams. They've destroyed bad teams. They've destroyed good teams. They've had long winning streaks. They're a top offensive team, defensive team, net rating team. They are outrageously good. Outrageously good. Just a couple of nitpicks because I was born in Rhode Island and I've lived in New England for more than 30 years. Just a couple of nitpicks. Just a couple things that I want to make sure the Celtics button up here. I was happy Jason Tatum sat last night and rested. I wrote about that at Boston Sports Journal. Tatum needs to take a few days off the rest of this season, okay? The rest of this regular season, he needs to get at least 2, 3, 4 games off. It's commendable he loves to play. I love that he loves to play. But think about the big picture. Get him some rest. Get him some rest like you did last night. I love that. Continue to do that. I don't want Tatum playing, 4 games in 6 nights or whatever. I don't want it. So I'm glad he took the night off. Obviously, the other thing about health is Kristaps Porzingis. And Porzingis, he said last night that the hamstring wasn't that big of an issue, that if it was the postseason, he would have played. Porzingis has to stay healthy. We've said that from day one. He's a huge difference maker. Thought last night he looked good. He looked good on both ends of the floor. Didn't miss a beat from 3. Was willing to go inside, which was nice to see, and post up a few times. So I thought Porzingis looked good. I saw everything I needed to see from Porzingis last night to make me feel optimistic about him going forward here as we get ready for the playoffs. Jaylen Brown has to figure out the free throw line. It's been bad. He has shot under 63% from the free throw line since February 1st. And every point matters when you get to the postseason. I have this terrible nightmare that the Celtics are going to be in position to win a title and Jaylen Brown shoots 3 of 10 from the free throw line and they lose the game by 4 points. I don't want that. He's got to straighten out the free throw line. Defensive rebounding has also been an issue. They have to absolutely take care of the glass. The second chance points at times, the offensive rebounds from the opposition, those kinds of things will kill you. They will lose playoff games. They will lose playoff series. You can't give a team a chance to grab 14, 15 offensive rebounds. You can't give them 20 second chance points. So that's another nitpicky thing. And of course, 90 seconds left in the game, close game. What's their offense look like? But this team right now is a wagon. It's fantastic to watch them. They're a fun team to watch. They seemingly get along very well. They brought in Tillman. I thought it was a fantastic add at the trade deadline. Fit a need. Hauser's been brilliant from three. Pritchard has gotten it going offensively. Derek White, who I thought was a very good basketball player last year, he's even better this year. He was tremendous last night with his first triple-dub. So this team is a lot of fun, man. It's a well-built team. It's a very talented team. And they have done everything, aside from 3 or 4 games where they've lost late with about a minute and a half left. This team has done everything that we wanted them to do. I don't know what else you could ask. They've been awesome defensively, incredible offensively. They've been really good. I would love to see this team win a championship. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Trying to hit 3,000 subscriptions by the national championship game on April 8th. We're going to try to push towards that goal. It's going to be very difficult. The way we get there is by those thumbs up. Subscribe as well. That will obviously help the numbers and people will see them. So don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review on Spotify, Apple Pods, the Patreon, of course, patreon.com/NickCattles, CATTLES. We have an exclusive chat tonight on the Discord. Tomorrow night, an exclusive ad-free podcast video on demand. That will also drop. We have audio as well on demand. That will drop tomorrow night. Mailbag coming up on Friday. And we're going to do some post-game action too at the Patreon. Celtics post-game, Bruins post-game during the playoff run. Should be a lot of fun. I appreciate every single one of you. Evan Lazar tomorrow. Evan Lazar from Patriots.com will join us at 11 a.m. Until then, be well. This has been the Nick Cattle Show.